कामरूपिणी विद्यारम्भं करिष्यामि सिद्धिर्भवतु मे सदा वसुदेवं सुतं देवं कंसचाणूरमर्दनं देवकी परमानन्दं कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुं हरि ओम् कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुं. Yes, can we recollect what is it that we saw last? Yes, anything, Chitraji?
Yes. So we saw that Nirodbaran ji was struggling with some setbacks of meditation that made him go to depression, and he feels everything is useless. For which, and he also felt without even trying if the divine can give some grace or something of that kind. So then we saw that Arpitoji told that either he has to try and wait or just allow the divine. And I mean, both the ways is what we saw that was told. And then we saw about the three things: imagination, intuition, and feelings. So one should know what are the three differences in these, and uh, before coming to certain conclusions. I've not written this part properly, but yeah, these three things we saw. And
Distinct,
we
we
saw
must know the difference in each. Each is distinct from the other.
and then we saw the experiences of pressure during meditation. So why does this happen? So basically, it's means that one has to widen his self, and then the body might not be receptive enough. That's why the pressure or something could be an experience during meditation. And we also saw that importance of poetry for sadhana again. Basically, it's like an instrument that allows one to be more conscious. And then we also saw that yoga improves the writing skills and benefits that. So there's no class or some kind of competition that is there when no one is trying to write. Um, and then all energies should be directed towards the service of the divine. That was another important point. Probably, I don't really remember the correspondence exactly, but this was one point that we saw. And also saw that happy impression, which lasts for a few days and then again it becomes passive, feels like it has evaporated. So one should not allow this depression to come, and it's not evaporation basically. It's just that setting the base for the next anubhava to
Yeah.
come. So that was one thing we saw. And the last thing we saw was the rasa of life, unable to find it in everything as there's no fixed tendency. So then we saw that one has, yeah, so it's one has shouldn't try to find rasa in everything. So manifestations of simple aspirations is important. And then I don't know, last few things I've just scribbled
I
because
think
it
that
was
was
a
the
little,
last part actually, Chitraji.
yeah,
It's perfectly summarized. It was about the rasa only. And one
yes.
somewhere, there was one discussion where poetic elements and these aspects of literary aspects should be focused or not, or importance of literary aspect with expression. So expression always should be given the more important when you're connected with the higher consciousness. Sometimes if somebody is not very literary and very strong in the literal aspects also, even that person can express by connecting with the higher planes. So Hari Om, Johiji, you also, if you can turn on video feeds, most welcome. Let us begin. Please start. What do you think of this? A letter from C. Isn't it appalling that a small job and a little money in his hands have brought him to this? Is it right to suppose that divine will is behind it in order to exhaust an abnormal propensity? I write to you because I read in Vijay Krishna's biography of a Mahapurush, that is, of a Mahapurush, that in his ascetic wanderings, the Mahapurush met a woman and lived with her for 3 years, a most passionate life. Then he got terribly disgusted and ran away. Behind it, the Mahapurush sees the will of the divine or his Guru who led him to exhaust his propensity through excessive indulgence. Even if it be true, it seems to be rather an abnormal remedy because, to our experience, we find the more a desire is satisfied, the more it flares up. But the workings of the divine may be different. What do you say, Sri Aurobindo? It may be true of this Mahapurush or other well known cases because the spiritual impulse is strong in them and survives. But what of those in whom the desire persists or even grows? Nirodbaran. But what to do now with C? He may turn desperate and try to satisfy his lower propensity, which will totally finish him. Do save him, or at least give him a thunder. These cases are very queer indeed. One side, such a bhakti, aspiration, and on the other, Sri Aurobindo. He will have to fight it out. You can tell him whatever happens not to despair. I don't think thunder is of much use. Nirodbaran. Today I was very quiet in meditation and saw the full moon with cross stripes over it. Sri Aurobindo. Full moon equals spiritual consciousness. Cross is a symbol of the triple divine, transcendent, cosmic, individual. So these are the three: transcendent, cosmic, and individual. Excuse me again. Last night, I had a dream that you had come out of your seclusion for once. You were tall, quite young, but very dark. I began to wonder if this was Sri Aurobindo of former years. Sri Aurobindo. No, it is not likely. It is probably some subtle physical form, the one corresponding to the Shiva element in me. Namaste, Rajiv ji. Hari Om.
Namaste.
Yeah, ji sir. I have seen myself like that sometimes, and it is always the Shiva formation. Nirodvaran, the dream ended, but recurred soon after when I saw that you have appeared before my closed eyes, exactly the same in appearance as we see you during darshan. The vision remained for some time. The joy was not as intense as on a previous occasion. Was it because I made some intentional movements in order to test the strength of the vision? So many times we do get some darshana or something, and suddenly what do we do instead of experiencing and going quietly? We say, "Oh, is it really? Am I seeing it? Or okay, if I open my eyes and again let me try to close and see something like that." He probably did some movement of physical. It also indicates that probably when this is happening, we have to become more and more quiet and silent. That time we become more receptive. Sure, Arvindo, he replies, he says, maybe the consciousness was probably nearer to the gross physical, which is less responsive than the inner physical being. So, meaning of this is that consciousness. There is something called inner physical being, and there is another gross physical. Inner physical is what we call the sukshma. Gross physical is what we call the sthula. So this experience was closer to the sthula. That is why movement of sthula is causing disturbance. Otherwise, if it was deep inside, even maybe a little movement may not have disturbed, is what we can infer. Nirodbaran, he says, Mother, it seemed by your looks at Pranam that you didn't approve of some of my movements. Is it true? Again, he started. Shervindo. No, it was probably some idea of your own that put that appearance on mother's looks. Nirodbaran. Is it unnecessary to write about these dream experiences? Sri Aurobindo? No, it is useful to write. Nirodbaran. Again, I have done a great offense today. Anybody wants to guess what is the offense? Yes, we've heard Nirodbaran continuously telling about something.
Tea,
Yeah.
tea.
Okay,
It's
Dr. Balaji, Chitraji.
Tea is what even I
Yeah.
thought.
So again and again we see in correspondence Nirodbaran's food habits coming. Tea. So we are almost it's predictable now. Yeah, he says, I have done a great offense by taking restaurant food, which is strictly forbidden by you. Then he says, I thought not to write about it, but to resolve not to repeat the offense. But that wouldn't be the right attitude. And by writing to you, I guard myself against any future like occurrence. Sri Aurobindo, it is always better to say, Nirodbaran, I have to resume the thread of work versus meditation because of some fresh questionings in my mind. It is quite evident that you give the preference to karma. But is it possible to attain the highest realization in your yoga through work alone? Or is work to be used only as a means up to a certain stage and then left aside? As Ramakrishna said in his well known analogy of a pregnant woman and the gradual falling off of her work with the nearing of her full term. Sure, Bindu. Am I Ramakrishna or is there no difference between my yoga and his? There is only question asked. Nirodbaran, if I remember right, you wrote to me that work is only a means for the preparation of the spiritual life. Otherwise, it has no spiritual value. Sri Aurobindo underlined only and put an interrogation mark above it. Lord God, Sri Aurobindo's reply. Lord God, when did I make this stupendous statement, which destroys at one fell swoop the 2 volumes of the essays on the Gita and all the 7 volumes of the Arya? Work by itself is only a preparation, but so is meditation by itself. But work done in the increasing yogic consciousness is a means of realization as much as meditation is. This is something we think which is worth pondering over, or probably we can just look at it. So he has quoted, or maybe misquoted, Sri Aurobindo, saying that work is having superficial, importance because it's only preparing works, whatever work we are doing, or the karmas. They are just preparing us for a spiritual life, is what he felt. Otherwise, it has no other spiritual value. This is verse versus meditation is what the Bhed Nirodbaran has created. So he's trying to understand that. Shrivinda said, ki, no, this is actually negating his entire what is the essays on the Gita. There's a beautiful commentary. If anybody has had the chance to read, that was actually the essays on the Gita was the reference for writing the rhythm of Krishna also. Hari Om Namaste Payaji. If you can turn on video feeds, welcome.
Yeah,
Ji.
thank you. Thank
Thank you.
you.
Hari Om ji.
Hari
Yes,
Om
ji.
ji, Hari.
Hari Om.
Sorry.
So, yeah, so this essays on the Gita, or if you see Arya, because he has written with one philosophy, that same philosophy is manifest in different writings. This is going against the basic tenets of this philosophy, that work is only having a superficial aspect in the spiritual life. And here he says, work by itself is only a preparation, meaning only work alone if you are doing without fully consciously, it's just a preparatory aspect. Same way, meditation itself, by itself is also a preparation only. Meaning, again, meditation also is only one part if you are not integrating that as a part of a whole. So the next part is very interesting, which conveys the full meaning. Means this is the true yogic way. But work done in the increasing yogic consciousness is a means of realization as much as meditation is. Work done in an increasing means of yogic realization. Can someone share something? What do you think about this? What is the meaning of this? If it becomes clear, then we move ahead. Anybody? Work alone, meditation alone, they are all on one side. But when it is slowly, work is also doing that active part, then anybody? Does that indicate work can become a equally powerful tool like meditation? Yes, Dr. Bhavna, you are saying something.
Yeah, I I know it is in the beginning you sit apart and start to do meditation, japa and all. In that you slowly find that it continues a little more time than after you finish it. And I hope that it should go whole day, the gains that you take out of meditation, and your work can go in that meditative mode.
Work means
It
any
is,
work.
work can be done with meditative mind.
Now, you as a doctor, you see in the what we can say microscope. Does it can it become meditation?
Yeah, yeah, it can become meditation.
Ah,
Sometimes
that
you
is
get
how.
lost. Yeah.
Yeah, that's something. If you can share something about it, that will be
Uh,
nice.
actually, actually, it happens that one part is doing your work and one part is with silence. That happens.
So
Initially, it
in
was
your,
difficult.
it was
Now,
difficult. Okay.
initially, it was difficult. And now, if I have to be ready for some conference or something, then my full concentration will be in the reading. But routine work that I'm doing, it's not requiring one part is working, one part can be with meditative mind. It's
Okay.
possible.
So conscious action can become equal to meditation, isn't it?
Actually, it should merge together that you meditatively you
Okay.
work,
Okay.
but I feel one part
All
is
right.
working, one part is inside, like that.
Fine. All right. Okay, Dr. Balaji. Rajiv ji is saying something. Yes, sir. Please unmute, sir.
See, work and knowledge, I mean, both these things, they are dealt with very well in the Bhagavad Gita. In the Bhagavad Gita, there is a sloka which says, Yoga Sanyastha Karmanam. Yoga Sanyastha Karmanam.
Good morning.
Jnana Sanchinna Samshayam.
Ah,
Okay. Atmavantam na karmani nivadnanti dhananjaya.
yes,
Working in that state never binding.
will never bind. Yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
Performing works, not running away from works, in a state of yoga.
Ji,
And
sir.
then, with that knowledge, blowing up all the inhibitions that would be there, all samshayas that are there. So that is the state when you perform, you
Hmm.
are never going to be bound by anything. So both these things go hand in hand, and with the right amount of proportions of each one of them, actually.
Ji, sir. So there's no work which can be boring for in terms of sadhana. If you can
It
use it,
should
it
be
can become a meditative experience.
Correct.
it should be
Yes.
atmavantam. That is what is little difficult.
Atmavantam. Correct.
Uh,
Yes, exactly. That is the state which you were describing
yeah,
now.
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I was
Yes.
describing. It is still the merger is required more.
Yes,
Mhm.
very well. Very well.
And
Yes.
and jnana sanchinna, when
Samshayam.
sanshaya, doubts. So while doing
So
All,
work, doubts
yeah,
have to
all
be
doubts.
cut with the
the,
weapon
pre-
of
Yeah.
knowledge.
yeah.
Correct.
Previously,
So
what you read, uh, previously what you read that there was doubt about the visions. Whether then the doubt comes, it becomes a problem in the
yeah.
Yes.
visions in the dream, the sleeping.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
the doubts should not be there. When you are reading, I was just thinking that there should not be doubts. When it comes
Yeah.
as a dream, it is different. When it comes as Sri Aurobindo's vision, my God. So that time, I think there should not be any doubts. It will not just
So
come. Mm.
yeah. And
So
so
the
knowledge.
sunshine,
Yes. Yes. Absolutely.
sunshine should not be there. Doubts.
All right.
Mm.
Ji. Fine. Ji. Thank you. Let us continue. So this is exactly as Rajiv ji also gave a beautiful quote of the Gita. Sri Aurobindo said this is actually otherwise it's negating the entire teachings of Krishna also in essays on the Gita. If work is not so work is equally important. That's not something we can avoid. We can neglect. Work can be anything. It not only means job, duty, karma, everything. So let us see. And Nirodbaran writes. In Dilip's letter also, you say that work helps to prepare for the direct contact with the inmost. In another, you say that work prepares for the right consciousness to develop, which means the same thing. So he is now arguing the case using references to other letters which he should not have read. They are letters written for somebody else. Shervindu replies, I have not said, I hope that work only prepares. Meditation also prepares for the direct contact. Both of these are preparing, they are creating the ground. Anyway, let's go back to what Sri Aurobindo said. Meditation also prepares for the direct contact. If we are to work only as a preparation and then become motionless meditative ascetics, then all my spiritual teaching is false and there is no use for supramental realization or anything else that has not been done in the past. One interesting aspect of Sri Aurobindo's yoga was the supramental manifestation of the divine in the material. That was supposed to be a transformation. Next stage of human consciousness will take place when we all reach that consciousness, where the divine starts functioning through us. As if that was the only aspect of becoming, doing work initially and then going into a trance and not doing anything else afterwards. Then he says, I think Rajiv ji also knows about Swami Hariyarji Maharaj, his guru. Continuously, he kept even after in the late 90s also. Why should anybody go and give lectures or give any pravachan or speak about the Gita? Somebody can say, "Chalo, theek hai, now I have to do minor sadhana. I don't need anything. I have done all." Even Shastra also says, isn't it? Yeah, at that particular age, you don't need to do. But no, he was continuously leading from the front, leading by example, because karma needs to be done. Sir was even in the, means Swamiji was even in wheelchair, I think, Rajivji sir. That time also he gave talks and he was, if you can maybe share a line or two of Swamiji, please unmute, sir.
Well, his lifespan was about 100 years exactly. So, but right up to the last moments, I mean, it was not a moment that he was not giving whatever he had to people, educating them, telling them, guiding them. I mean, he kept on doing that till the moment that he was taken into hospital, and that in that state also, it was the Gita that he was reciting. So he lived like a karma yogi through his entire life. Actually, that is the example that he has set.
Yes, sir. Yad yad acharati shrestha in the Gita, isn't it, sir? So
Yes, yes.
we all have to follow the examples of our great ones, our gurus and leaders. So yes, there was something wrong in my internet. I'm just trying to just set it up. Give me one moment. Yes, now, Hariom. Yeah. So let us continue. Yes. Yeah, and then as Sri Aurobindo said, we last saw that then all my spiritual teaching is false and there is no use for the supramental realization or anything else that has not been done in the past. Because that transformation is required. Even the Bhagavad Gita, we see the same thing, isn't it? We see there is an avyakta, no? Kshetra,
Yes.
kshetra. There is avyakta which has to become vyakta, no? What is avyakta? That which is not vyakta. Why will something exist as negation only? Unless it has to come in realization. So that aspect of manifesting in Prakriti Karan, what they call it, manifestation is important. So for that, our works are to be used as sadhana. There is no work which cannot be used as sadhana because every kshetra we know is the kshetra of the divine. Let us continue. Nirodbaran again continues. He says, my own impression is that work is an excellent means as a preparation, but the major experiences and realizations are not likely to come in during work. My little experience corroborates me because whatever drops of ananda descended onto me were mostly during meditation. Also, only once did I have 2 minutes ananda during work. So, one of the aspects of Dr. Nirodbaran is that he makes it very easy for all of us because of his questions. So he says, see, My own experience is telling, Sri Aurobindo, you are telling all of it, yes. But in my experience says that you get only in work, you will not get anything, only in dhyana. I got mostly ananda only while doing dhyana. But only once in work I got for 2 minutes. So he's considering it not it's too short to be considered that it is possible during work. Sure, window. I see. When the time for preparation is over, one will sit immobile forever after and never do any work. For, as you say, work and realization cannot go together. Hurrah for the Himalayas. Well, but why not then the old yoga if work is so contrary to realization? It is not. So Sri Aurobindo was again replying sarcastically. It is not contrary to realization. You have to. Otherwise, what will anybody do? Why will Krishna teach the Gita to Arjuna if he was not supposed to do what Arjuna initially called ghor karma? Here he says nimitta matra bhava save sachin. Become my instrument and perform the same karma which he is calling ghora. So it is important. Let us go on. Nirodbaran. The main difference between the two is that in work, the attention is bound to be diverted. While working with the hand, utter the name of Hari with the mouth. This attitude is quite possible, but only as a preparation and not effective for the realization, which meditation alone can bring, because the whole being is absorbed into the engrossing meditation of the beloved. So Nirodbaran is not willing to change, no matter. This is actually a beautiful dialogue. Guru Shishya, and full freedom is there, isn't it? Srivinda is not saying, how dare you challenge me or how dare you say this statement after I have told you. That is the beauty of Sanatan Dharma also. Freedom has always been there. The freedom to question with sincerity. You are allowed, it is always permitted. And Nirodbaran is probably misusing that freedom to our benefit. So he says, no. While working, you can say probably the name of Hari and this attitude is possible, but it's only preparation, not as effective as full meditation because in dhyana, full body enters into that with the beloved is what he said. Sri Aurobindo replies, in that case, I am entirely wrong in preaching a dynamic yoga. Let us go back to the cave and the forest. Nirodbal, my theory about work hampering one pointed concentration finds some support. I think from your own example. I proceed cautiously though. Because Sri Aurobindo has withdrawn. No, he has gone into his sadhana for bringing supramental manifestation. He was engaging in a very deep, intense sadhana where he cut off physical contact. So he's saying, Sri Aurobindo, you are only doing that. And then in bracket he writes, I proceed very cautiously though. Sri Aurobindo has put a question mark. Sri Aurobindo underlined cautiously. Again, Nirodhman, you have said that. Again, he does not leave it. He said, you have said that 9 out of 10 of your time is spent in doing correspondence, works, etc., whereas only 1 of 10 is devoted to concentration. One naturally asks, why should it not be possible for you to do concentration and work at the same time? So he is questioning. He said, you have previously told me 9 out of 10 times you are spending in doing your correspondence work, but why one time also then? Why can't you do all 10 out of 10 times? Sri Aurobindo replies, for me, correspondence alone. I have no time left for other works, etc. Concentration and meditation are not the same thing. One can be concentrated in work or bhakti as well as in meditation. For God's sake, be careful about your vocabulary, or else you will tumble into many errors and loosenings of thinking. If I devoted 9 of 10 times of my the 9 out of 10 of my time to concentration and none to work, the result would be equally unsatisfactory. My concentration is for a particular work. It is not for meditation, divorced from life. When I concentrate, I work upon others, upon the world, upon the play of forces. What I say is that to spend all the time reading and writing letters is not sufficient for the purpose. I am not asking to become a meditative sannyasi. He's very clearly said. He said that way you are saying 9 out of 10 times. Why should I spend one time for concentration? Said even 9 out of 10 I can spend in concentration. But still he will not be satisfied because the work is not complete. So it is like he has duties, like Krishna said, I discharge my duties. Sun or rain. I have no duties for the sake of the world, but yet I do my duties. And here he's saying this concentration is not the same as meditation. This concentration is a active working. It is also a dynamic karma. He's working on what? Upon others. Others in the sense he had become like a father figure, no? For so many of the sadhaks. He would get messages of people's health. He would get messages of some particular cases also from Nirodbaran himself. Nirodbaran himself is told to put some force of yours into this patient. He's not responding, do this, do that. He knows all of it. Still, he's asking this. Quite an obnoxious question, though, of Nirodbaran. Upon the world, during the World War, Sri Aurobindo had used occult forces for participation to send forces. People had experienced it. Even Europeans, some of them who did not know, had seen visions also. I think, a nice aphorism. If at all the French Revolution took place, it was because there was a man on Indian's nose meditating upon equality, liberty, and fraternity. I think that is working. This is working. Just because one person can do one work does not mean that person should do all the work. No. Or just because one person can do this type of, everybody has to do their work. This was one important daitva that he was fulfilling upon the play of forces. This we have also seen, isn't it? Play of forces. In the Gita, we have heard of it. Forces are at play. Yes, anybody? Yes, if yes, where are they? Anyone? Yes, Dr. Bhavana ji is saying something.
In our nature, divine and demoniac forces,
Okay.
according to
Asuri,
Bhagavad Gita. Yeah,
Divya Svabhava is there.
Rajasic, Rajasa, Tamasic.
The
They
Gunas
are
also
around.
have forces. Who is that who is able to work on the forces? Also, Krishna has told. He's given a name for that person.
Gunatita.
Gunatitaha uchyate. Such a person who is able to watch, who is able to observe. So probably from this, we can actually even infer that probably Sri Aurobindo had reached a higher state of consciousness, which can be called maybe Gunatita or closest. That's from my understanding probably. But yes, that is what was going on. And he's clearly saying, I'm not asking. Yes, Rajit, you want to say something? Yes, sir.
This reminds me of another part in the Bhagavad Gita, which is Karmanya Karmaya Pascheda Karmani Cha Karmaya
Ah,
Sabuddhiman Manisheshu. So actually, Karmanya Karma. So what is karma and what is akarma? So knowing that
doing it.
is something, I mean, what we normally understand as karma and the karta behind that, and then understanding what is akarma also. Okay.
Yeah.
So when in absolute stillness also there is a lot of work being done in order to maintain that stillness, which we normally say nothing is happening. There is something which is actually happening over there.
Yes.
And when you see motion and things like that, there is something else which is absolutely not performing in any way. Yet things are happening. So
Yes.
that is what the Gita is actually talking about in terms of action. Karmanya karmaya pasched, akarmani cha karma. Yeah.
Yes, sir. So he said, I'm not asking you to be a meditative sannyasi. Gita also talks about the same thing. You have to. Who is the yogi? Who is that sannyasi? Who has given tyaga of karma phala, not tyaga of karma. So karma must be done. Nirodbaran is not leaving. He says, did you not retire for 5 or 6 years for an exclusive and intensive meditation? Look at that. Sri Aurobindo. I am not aware that I did so, but my biographers probably know more about it than I do. So I did not do it. Whoever has written about me probably knows
Yeah.
more than me. This is a story which happens many times, isn't it? People write from their perception, people write their understanding, and sometimes it's very far away from the truth also. Nirodbaran, again, he says, if the supramental divine himself differentiates between work and concentration and finds it difficult to radiate his force among the few sadhaks contemporaneously with his work of correspondence, etc., what about undivines and inframentals like us? Nirodbaran's question is being answered. He says, Sri Aurobindo says, between concentration on correspondence alone and the full many-sided work, not between work and correspondence. It does not mean that I lose the higher consciousness while doing the work of correspondent. If I did that, I would not only not be supramental, but would be very far even from the full yogic consciousness. So this is again detached action, no, for the sake of the world. Gita talks about same thing. It's actually Sri Aurobindo also talked about his yoga. He said it's not radically different from any other way of yoga. It is the same. It is the same, but it is talking about one important aspect, which is about manifestation. And he says, if I am doing correspondence and that does not is not it is not a part of my sadhana, or if it is not what is in exact words, he says, it does not mean if I that I lose the higher consciousness just because Sri Aurobindo is responding to whatever silly questions of Nirodbaran are. It does not mean he is losing his touch with the higher consciousness. If he's losing the touch, he says, then it's of no use. Absolutely. He says, forget the supramental, it would not even be complete yogic consciousness. Because how is the yogi? Yogi is always in the lay, no? Lay of that higher consciousness. It is flowing. Whether or not somebody comes in many times. Today is such a beautiful day. I have done such a nice sadhana, and then suddenly, oops, why did this person come in front of me? Looking at that person before he or she speaks, only you lose that state of mind. That is not what we call sthita prajna. That is not the state of higher consciousness. So Shivam says no. It is even at that time. Again, Sri Aurobindo underlined the words contemporaneously with his work of correspondence in my letter. He said, Sri Aurobindo had written, say, by correspondence alone, if I have to help somebody to repel an attack, I can't do it by only writing a note. I have to send him some force or else concentrate and do the work for him. Also, I can't bring down the supramental by merely writing neatly to people about it. I am not asking for leisure to meditate at ease in a blissful indolence. I said distinctly I wanted it for concentration on other important work than correspondence. The ignorance underlying this attitude in the assumption that one must necessarily do only work or only meditation. Either work is the means or meditation is the means, but both cannot be. This is the ignorance which Sri Aurobindo is pointing out. Only work must be done or only meditation. This can be or that, but not both. I have never said, so far as I know, that meditation should not be done. To set up an open competition or a closed one between works and meditation is a trick of the dividing mind and belongs to the old yoga. Please remember that I have been declaring all along an integral yoga in which knowledge, bhakti, works, light of consciousness, ananda, and love will, and power in works, meditation, adoration, service of the divine have all their place. So, once more, I'll just repeat this. Please remember that I have been declaring all along an integral yoga. That is why Sri Aurobindo's yoga is called Purna Yoga. Purna means complete. It is not negating, it is not discarding any facet. Instead, it is embracing all facets and focusing on divinizing, on making divine, in which knowledge, bhakti, works, light of consciousness, ananda and love, will and power in works, meditation, adoration, service of the divine have all their place. Have I written 7 volumes of the Arya? That was another beautiful, luminous writing of Sri Aurobindo. Have I written 7 volumes of the Arya all in vain? Meditation is not greater than yoga of works, nor works greater than yoga by knowledge. Both are equal. Another thing, it is a mistake to argue from one's own very limited experience, ignoring that of others, and build on it large generalizations about yoga. This is what many do, but the method has obvious demerits. You have no experience of major realizations through work, and you conclude that such realizations are impossible. But what of the many who have had them elsewhere and here too in the ashram? That has no value? You kindly hint to me that I have failed to get anything by works. How do you know? I have not written the history of my sadhana. If I did, you would have seen that if I had not made action and work one of my chief means of realization, well, there would have been no sadhana and no realization except that perhaps of nirvana. Just because you have not got a realization, you cannot make a generalization, is what Sri Aurobindo is telling our Nirodbaran. And he says, you are hinting that I did not achieve anything by works. But it is not that, he said. If that was the case, then what? I would have just probably only got nirvana. No sadhana, no realization. If you see the samadhi also, the samadhi of Sri Aurobindo, there it's written how much how much he has labored, who has sacrificed all, who has worked so much sacrifice, so much karma has been done. But people are not aware. But just because we don't know something or we are not aware, does that mean it does not exist? No. So this is something, this is the flaw in Nirodbaran's argument. Here he says further, I shall perhaps add something hereafter as to what works can do, but no time tonight. Do not conclude, however, that I am exalting works as the sole means of realization. I am only giving it its due place. You will excuse the vein of irony or satire in all this. But really, when I am told that my own case disproves my whole spiritual philosophy and accumulated knowledge and experience, a little liveliness in answer is permissible. Look at the dialogue and humility. No? Sri Aurobindo has been asked a very rather obnoxious question by Nirodbaran. And so he has responded, and then here also you see he's used words like kindly. He has said that, and then he's saying it's permissible. Guru gives the Shishya permission or Shishya gives. But look
Is
at the
it,
humility. He's considering like a friend.
is it
Yes,
like
sir.
the same shloka in Bhagavad Gita? Yat kim
Uh,
karmani ghore mam niyojaya sikeshava. This chapter,
uh,
whole chapter that you are reading,
yeah, yeah.
is moving around that question.
Yes, Dr. Bhanaji, absolutely. Yeah. Let us continue. Well, this is beautiful. The humility is something. This actually reminds me a lot of Damleji also. How he speaks. Huh, am I correct? Why should he ask, am I correct? He knows it. He has thought even our Ayurvedic medicines. Is this correct? Like you have created this formula, you have done it, you know what is right, and yet, so this is something which is very beautiful. I mean, I think anybody of us were in in Sri Aurobindo's place and Nirodbaran is asked a question. I think we would not have had this much patience, isn't it, in answering? Especially when so many important works are there. You would have international correspondence. All the great ones, great yogis, they would have consultations, so many discussions, so many things, all through correspondence. He's saying, I don't have too much time tonight, but I'll respond. But he's taking out time to respond, leaving every other work aside. How was it possible? Well, probably that is an indication of the yoga only, what he's following and living. We are lucky because of Nirodbaran's questions to see this side. Not many people knew about this side of Sri Aurobindo. Even his spiritual collaborator, the mother of the ashram, she said she was surprised that because everybody knew Sri Aurobindo as a non-smiling saint, with very who does not, he was so busy in his sadhana, in the freedom struggle, everything that they didn't see the hero. But that got revealed here. Nirodbaran, I had expected the blows and enjoyed them. Only one blow I did not expect, nor did I seem to deserve it. It is where you say that I have hinted that you have failed to get anything by works. So again, justifying. This was an extra blow I received. I should not have got this. A very pampered Shishya. Uh, Sri Aurobindo replies, anything except preparation at any rate. For works, can only prepare. Let us continue. Nirodbaran, I send you the letter of the 16th for a little correction. In one place, all of us stumbled. You have written, it does not mean that I use the higher. Use does not seem to make any sense here. He's saying is that in your letter which you have said, this word use is there. I have showed it to other sadhaks also. We are not able to understand why you have used the word use. Sherwinder replies, because you have turned loose into use. No wonder everybody stumbled over that hitch. Nirodbaran, if you have time, please complete the letter tonight. Sherwindo, none tonight. Again, Nirodbaran. It seems I had the same experience again. In the meditation, I felt that something descended and the body became silent. That is, it seemed to me that it was something apart from me. Along with this, the inner silence began. So, Nirodban has shared a spiritual experience that he got. Share window. That is the real self, Atman or Purusha, not the body. The body is something separate, a part of the being, but a part of Prakriti, not the true self or Purusha. One thing interesting is in Shervindo's yoga, the highest of high spiritual realizations are got, and yet they are treated with full samatha. Means Nirodbaran talks about his inner spiritual experiences also with the same sincerity and same vein also, same lightness also. It's not like I've got this experience. What happens many times today, I got the experience, so hence I am now an experienced soul. For me, I have reached a higher consciousness. That starts in people, they start mentally visualizing. But here it's always it is the aspect of no ankar should come in back to work. That is the work sometimes are more important for grounding us, no? We have to immediately go back into the action. Until when we are preparing for what? For divinization of entire life. This should not be in bits and pieces. It should be an unstrained experience. Ananda, I should feel that trupti, I should feel the santosha. Not in some moments when I'm doing my favorite work, not in some moments when I'm doing my favorite pastime, or not some moments when I'm meditating. It should be like an uninterrupted flow, an ecstasy, Radha was experiencing that, isn't it? At all times. Because that was the consciousness, that was there, it was flowing. That's something which we'll have to see. So here, Sharavinda says there is a real self, the Atman, Purusha, not the body, his experience. If you just look at his experience again, it's a very nice one. In the meditation, I felt that something descended and the body became silent. Means something entered, something entered. There's actually a live physical experience, no? In dhyana, Shivaనంda has described it as a descent of some portion of the Purusha, which is different from the body. We know Prakriti, no? We are all part of Prakriti. Our Sharira, our life, everything is part of Prakriti. Purusha is the silent one, the inert one. So something has come. Krishna also says, no, he sends things. It comes to us. Inspiration comes to us. When we are in a high sattvic state, we are open to reception. Krishna says, Dadami buddhi yogam tam. How does he send it? He doesn't use Swiggy or anything else. I mean, I'm not using any company's name, but some delivery agency. It comes from the divine. It comes directly. It's a descent of consciousness from the higher plane. That's why they call it descent. So, what happens with that descent? Nirodbaran will put on some more kilos, or what will happen with that descent? When that descent gets then assimilated into a part of the body of the experience of the person, that becomes that strength. It is a coming of the strength of the divine. To do what? To do work for the divine. When descent happens, we get different, what we say, qualities come in us. The person who is always afraid suddenly gets a descent of power and the power feels. Now we are talking about Navratri. We do what is different Devi Upasanas. For what reason? We want the strength, we want the direction, we want the wisdom. So that comes from the higher plane, and probably Nirodharan did get an experience from his meditation. So, no matter meditation is also important, work is also important. Let's not try to trivialize any of these in comparison with the other. Each has its place, each has its important place, like we call the linkages in our mechanical engineering. Linkages work together, and that is why the system operates. You take out any one, the entire system falls apart. So, each of this, just once, I'll repeat once more. Means this should be in our life. Sri Aurobindo has talked about it. He says yoga in which knowledge, bhakti, works also. Works means in the light of consciousness. Then there's ananda and love. They cannot be separated, is it? Can we separate ananda and love? No, they are one. They cannot be separated. We must experience both. Will and power in works. The will of the divine, the power of the divine must also be experienced in works. Meditation, yes. Adoration, stuti, bhakti, love for the divine must come. Our heart should no, it should flow with love for the divine also, and service of the divine. So seva of whom? Of the divine. Or more, it's like our own service we do if we become instruments. God's work we have to do. We have to be ready for that. Let us continue. Nirodbaran writes, I also tried to imagine your presence before me, but the appearance soon became obliterated into a nothingness, so to say. But is it harmful to test the experience as I did? Should I have remained absolutely silent and calm? So this is one more interesting thing. When the anubhav comes, should you do experiments or should you receive the anubhav? Nirodbaran felt that time he tried to, imagine mentally the presence of Sri Aurobindo while the descent was taking place. What did he say then? He said that disappeared. That dissipated at that time. It became nothing. Sri Aurobindo replies, he says, it is best to remain silent. To test the experience may lead to a mental activity which will break it. That it did not do so in this case shows that the power of silence that came down must have been very strong and imperative. So normally we get some experiences. I think all of us must have got, we are all part of some sadhana in our lives, isn't it? We're all doing sadhana. That is probably why we studied the Gita and we're trying to live the principles of the Gita. So during those times, we must have got some experience, vibrations, some kind of, cool feeling somewhere, or suddenly a heaviness somewhere, lightness somewhere, or heat also. All of these. These are all experiences which belong to what we call the occult dreams. We call them esoteric dreams, means select few are knowing about it. So when we are experiencing this, what should be done? Sri Aurobindo says we have to remain silent. In that silence, if you try to use your mental thought, ki chalo, theek hai, ye, this is happening now, this is happening, what's going to happen? It will break that experience. But despite Nirodbaran attempting to break that experience with his mental thought, it stayed because the descent was probably stronger. That is what the indication was. Nirodbaran, he says, you said before that this condition was of the inner being and its silence, the separation of Purusha from Prakriti. Sri Aurobindo, yes, but it seems also to be the beginning of liberation from identification with the body consciousness. That easily comes with the Purusha consciousness in the inner being. In the Gita also Krishna has told, isn't it? One of the ways identifying this Dvaita, this soul nature separation, going quiet inside. And it is the beginning of liberation, meaning such experiences are what? Indicatory of a arambha, a shubharambha, separation from the body consciousness. Otherwise, we relate to ourself, to our physical self only, isn't it? But there is a higher self. That experience. So Nirodbaran has got something what he's been waiting for a long time, isn't it? I'm not getting experience, I'm not getting experience. He kept on complaining. And now when he's getting, what's he doing? He's not receiving it fully, he's actually trying to test the depth of it. Anyway, let us continue. Everybody has a different way. We cannot say SOP, one person must follow another person's nature. Like I said, it would have been very boring if Gita was there told to me instead of Arjuna. If I was there, I would have asked Krishna what to do. He would have said, fight. I would have said, yes, sir, end of story. Nothing for the world. But because Arjuna asks questions like that, Nirodbaran is also an Arjuna here. And Sri Aurobindo, he already got the experience of Krishna. That was already got long back. Nirodbaran asks a question. He says, is this inner being or the Purusha the same as the psychic being? Sri Aurobindo replies, no, not necessarily. The inner being is composed of inner mental, inner vital, and inner physical. So now we understand there's something we have been looking at Chaitya Purusha or psychic being so many times. So it looks like we have a big world inside of us, no? We're not aware of it, we've not seen it, but it is there. So this inner being has three dimensions: inner mental, inner vital, inner physical. The psychic is the inmost, supporting all the others. So the psychic being is connected with all three dimensions. It's like supporting all these three, but it is still inner than this inner being. Usually it is the inner mental that this separation first, it is in the inner mental that this separation first happens. And it is the inner mental Purusha who remains silent, observing the Prakriti as separate from himself. But it may also be the inner vital Purusha or the inner physical, or else without location, simply the whole Purusha consciousness, separate from the whole Prakriti. Sometimes it is felt above the head, but then it is usually spoken of as the Atman, and the realization is that of the silent self. This is something which Sri Aurobindo is talking about. He says initially it is the inner mental that can immediately find the logic and Bheda. This is not my body, because the mind is connected, no, with the Sharira very much. So first, this is something else. The inner mental realizes ki wow, it's something else which is not my mind. It's something else. But sometimes it can be in a physical also, it can be in a vital also, or it can be the Purusha completely also. Means it's not like a mental logic which we have to divide. I try to write now from Sri Aurobindo's words. What are the states of consciousness? Higher mind, overmind, supermind, intuitive mind. I wrote down properties and everything of each of these and wrote a nice, I think 60, 70 pages book. I was feeling very happy until I read it again from the start. Then I did the greatest punya karma after that. I pressed the delete button and deleted whatever was written because it was all logical description of it. It is something which is beyond, which is experiential. Let it come to us that way. We learn that we have to be silent when the experience comes because after a while, that experience becomes more solid. It becomes dhruda. You can actually experience it continuously, and then there's no doubts, no? When you have got a sure shot experience, will doubts remain? Was I hallucinating? No, I got the experience, I'm understanding. When I have the experience, there is no question. Like I say, some lady comes and tells me, I am your real mother. Here is the proof. I'll say, no, my mother has raised me. It's my experience. Tomorrow you give me a DNA certificate and show also you are another mother, but my experience is that this is my mother. The question will never come again because it's my experience. Something like that. We must become the adhikari. Adhikari in the sense worthy of those of receiving those experiences. Means this adhikar is required even for studying the Gita. Are you aware of that? Anybody? Yes. We only adhikari can understand the Gita properly because they have cultivated that punya. Sri Aurobindo says, no, not Sri Krishna says, no. Idam na tapaskaya. Somebody who has not done any service, somebody who is not having shraddha, somebody who is dwelling in ignorance, such a person, give him the Gita and tell him this will liberate you. He'll say, no, thank you. I would rather date Gita than read the Gita, or I would rather go anywhere else but do this work. Because the adhikari is not there. Adhikar is required to receive. So we have to become adhikaris. How will we become adhikari? Sadhana. And slowly, slowly, our experience also increases. Nirodban writes, I am fortunate to have the same experience repeated so soon. Sri Aurobindo, he says, yes, it proves that the yogic consciousness is beginning to grow in you. These are lakshanas. Newer things happen. Unbelievable things start happening as you move ahead. What people call miracles, isn't it? They start happening more and more often. Then after a while, miracle not happening becomes a miracle because your sadhana has gone so ahead. Every moment the divine is taking, you may get irritated, you may, according to your gunas, rajas, tamas, sattva, according to the moment, according to the situation, that time you may react. But since you have surrendered to the divine and the divine is leading you, every action, your fall also, you will understand, I fell for this reason. In that fall also, you will see the love of the divine. Oh, my beloved pushed me, that's why I fell. Chalo, theek hai. Now I'll get up immediately. Well, that is something. So our Nirodban is going ahead on his consciousness. It feels good, isn't it? The way it's like somebody else is also progressing, it gives us a kind of an ananda only. It's something sakaratmak or positive. Nirodbaran, he says, last night as I returned from a walk at 11:30 p.m. and sat down in my chair, I felt all on a sudden your presence in the room and I was so very happy. Did you really visit me? Sri Aurobindo says yes. So many times, no, 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 this is your mental, this is your emotional. The first time he said yes. My question is it possible to travel without physical movement? Sri Aurobindo is there inside his seclusion, isn't it? Can you feel someone strongly, their company, even if you are not in their presence? Anybody? Have you had that experience? Anyone? Yes? Anybody? No? I have experienced Damleji's strong presence in the factory also. I remember one very, very interesting incident. Yeah, I think we'll probably look at two more readings and then we'll stop because time is up. But there was this inspection taking place by the government officials. Now, I'm not saying all government officials are bad. My parents themselves are in the government service. They were in the government service. Father was, mother still is. But many are not what we call the right approached people. They have this tendency to, they say work, get something under the table or expect something to do their own duty. So this particular department was concerned with the building of our unit. So there we had applied for a particular approval, and a big team came. Team of three senior officers with two young people with who had their tapes for measuring and everything. And so the first thing is they came and they started measuring and they said, "You have you have crossed the violation. You have violated these particular rules, and your front compound wall is outside by 10 centimeters." It was very hilarious. How can it be out? And by 10 centimeters, what are you saying? And you're saying we've stolen in the place, we have taken a government property, and all nonsense was going on. And I said, this is not possible. We've already had previous inspections before, everything. We have followed all the rules. The person was not willing to cooperate. He said, send your engineer. Then I am the engineer. No, I don't want, I want a civil engineer who has done all of this. I said, no, see, we are only not going to be sending any engineer. You want to have a discussion, you may have it with us. No, no, no. This has to be removed. This has to be taken off. So I really got a little irritated also, but I wanted now Damliji's presence. But Damliji was not in the factory. And I called on the phone and very loudly I spoke as if even that the other person here, and I'm not alone. I have got somebody. And I just told Damliji that he said, I am watching him. I am watching him from the CCTV camera. That's all. I'm watching him now. That's what he told. I said, all right. And then one very interesting thing happened was he was going out. That time the senior officer hit his head onto the gate very firm, very strongly. And he was hit it so hard that he was in a daze, holding on like that for some time. And it was exactly after the moment WG told me I am watching him. Now, how is it that immediately after that it happens? And you won't believe that days helped me so much because suddenly I called the other two youngsters who had the tape. I said, no, no, come, take measurement on the other side. And then they took a measurement and said, this side it is 10 centimeters more. Then I said, no, 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 your compound wall is okay. From building only on the inside is slightly crossed, is what they are shouting to the senior officer. Now, the senior officer, because he was having his headache or what, he did not speak a single word. He just looked at me angrily and walked back. I just went and repeated to him, see, your staff only have told that this 10 centimeter is not our side, it is on the inside. He said, okay, okay. I said, when will I get the approval? He said, don't talk to me now, it will take time. And he went away, we got our approval within 2 weeks. The same thing which had taken so long. But you see, for me, it was like an occult intervention only of consciousness, suddenly. And he said, I concentrated on him. That is what he told me. So like that, now there's something called astral travel. There is travel of what people call emanations. Sometimes a spirit also, somebody you're connected with, you feel the presence of that person. It does not have to be physical presence. It doesn't have to be at all. You can understand and that clarity comes in. And so here, Nirodbaran got the experience. And it was a conscious moment. Shervindo had visited during that time on a higher level. There are levels, there are higher levels, there are realms of consciousness. Many have experienced even today. They have experienced the presence of Sri Aurobindo working in a higher consciousness. Many gurus sometimes depart the mortal plane, but still their work goes on. Their work is always ongoing, and the Shishyas get that experience. They get that experience. The support is there and the action is there. Let us go on. We'll read three more and we will then three more correspondences and stop. Nirodbaran says, in your letter on meditation and work, you say afterwards meditation has to build laboriously a big superstructure on that foundation. It is very indispensable. Sri Aurobindo says it obviously refers to the building of the superstructure. Sri Aurobindo should have been left alone right now. He got his anubhav, Nirodbaran. Instead of enjoying in that, he's still again engaging in tarka and vad. Nirodbaran, he says, you have written, those who do work for the mother in all sincerity are prepared by the work itself for the right consciousness, even if they do not sit down in meditation. Could have as well been a very good lawyer. He's pulling out cases and references from different correspondence. So this is one interesting correspondence though. He says, those who do work for the mother in all sincerity are prepared by the work itself for the right consciousness, even if they do not sit for meditation. Yet in another letter, you say it may be necessary for an individual here and there to plunge into meditation for a time. Sri Aurobindo replies, this applies to a certain number of people. It does not lay down non-meditation as a principle, not the even if, which gives the proper shade. To plunge into meditation means to do meditation alone for a time only. Nirodbaran again replies, these statements would obviously mean that meditation is not indispensable. For sincere workers, I mean, Sri Aurobindo, I do not mind if you find inconsistencies in my statements. What people call consistency is usually a rigid or narrow minded inability to see more than one side of the truth or more than their own narrow personal view or experience of things. Truth has many aspects, and unless you look on all with a calm and equal eye, you will never have the real or integral knowledge. Looking at all with a common eye, with a calm and equal eye. In Gita, have we seen that somewhere? Yes. Until you get that, you will not see the truth. How many times Krishna has said, Ya pashyati, sa pashyati, sarvatra samadarshanaha. That quietude, that balance, that I, unless you see that, otherwise, what I experience is true, what I understand is true, what I think alone is true. And you are looking for consistency in somebody else, but your approach is yourself, you are yourself not recognizing that there are so many dimensions, isn't it, to a truth. I function according to my understanding. Another person functions according to his understanding. What is truth to me may not be truth to another person. But the highest truth is one. So to realize that highest truth, we have to be non-emotional. Otherwise, again, mind interferes. Mind brings in bheda, divide. So that is something. So with this, we are stopping today. We conclude today's reading. If anybody has any query, you can ask or you can share, after which we will look for a summary and then we conclude with a Shanti Mantra. Just give me one moment. My laptop will just try to charge. Yeah. Yes. Anybody? If there are any queries, anything you want to discuss, you want to relook at something. If not, we will only conclude after a summary. Yes, Rajiv ji wants to say something. Yes, sir. Most welcome. Always, please feel free to unmute, sir. And no need to ask anytime permission, sir. You can just anytime you can
No, no,
speak, sir.
this topic is a very interesting topic, and the discussion was also very interesting between the two of them. Now, the thing is, from the Bhagavad Gita standpoint, it brings me to a shloka which is Jnanam Geyam Parigyata Trividha Karma Chodana Karanam Karma Karteti Trividha Karma Sangraha. So this discussion in the 18th chapter finally talks about action, in which it is said that motivation for action depends upon these three things: the knowledge, that which is to be known, and the knower.
The Madhyam,
Okay.
through which we can.
Yes, that that is one thing, which is the motivation to act, and the action itself depends upon those three things: karma, and karta. So now there are these qualities that are defined for the jnanam, which is supposed to be there, the karta, which is supposed to be there, and the karma, which is also again sattvic, rajasic, and tamasic. So this is all about actions in terms of the qualities that are deliberated upon. And finally, I mean, to one who has reached that particular state, wherein the parigyata and the geyam, there is no distinction between them. Okay, so then he is in that state where even though acting, he is not acting at all. I mean, he is silent wherever he is and still doing something at the highest efficiency which anybody could have actually thought about, which is what possibly Aurobindo would be doing and achieving through a little effort which is there. So it was a very interesting discussion, and I feel sad that I missed the other two. So I'll try to make it every time. So
Yes,
thank
sir.
you very
Most
much
welcome.
for it.
Thank you, sir.
Thank
Thank
you
you, sir.
very much. Yes.
Thank So we have seen, no, Krishna also when he talks to Arjuna, it's always Krishna is coming back to the level of Arjuna so Arjuna can understand. Because Krishna's level is the level of what we can say is a Vishwarupa. He's got the greatest of greatest levels. But he comes, see here also Sri Aurobindo is coming to Arjuna's level. Means this also shows a great trait, isn't it, in the great yogis and means that humility is one aspect, but it is also making the other person understand it is important. Also, that they are considering it important, isn't it? Why are they considering? Because the person is sincere. It was somebody else, it is very funny. There was one person who had come to meet Sri Aurobindo because he said, just because I know Sanskrit and I want to talk to Sri Aurobindo in Sanskrit. You can tell to him in Sanskrit that I don't have time, is what Sri Aurobindo replied.
Mm.
That's a different aspect, absolutely. So here it is a seeker who is dedicated. We are what we see only one dimension. We don't know that Sri Aurobindo Nirodbaran has actually dedicated his entire life for a yoga. And that time it was not yet realized what was this. Sri Aurobindo himself had told that I am in process of realizing something in my life. Who want to support and join can join. You are welcome to take part. Means it was not something that was fully concrete or manifest. It was not like it was a very atypical and a very modern setup. The ashram here at that time also. We can see a modern correspondence also where the guru is saying, if I may humbly, if it may be permissible. And this boy says this, he says, a young man, he's a young man. He says, yeah, these 2 points okay, but I think I got a little extra bashing for this. They're talking in such a way. Such is the beauty. But the most beautiful aspect of Sri Aurobindo yoga is that it is integral in all its directions. Means, all of these become a means of sadhana for what? For bringing about an emancipation of individuals. What one was to what one becomes, that is more important. Everybody was something or the other, no? We know what we were in this birth. Who knows what we were in last birth? I don't know what I would have been a biggest fraud also in the last. I don't know. I don't care now. That's not important. What is important is what we are now and what we have to become. So our direction must be towards that, and we can utilize. Today's important aspect is works. Works can connect us. with the divine. It may be a work which we don't like, it may be a work which may be boring, but if you understand, I conclude with one small example of Kusumben. She was until I think until her 90s, she sat in the perfumery department of Santor's. That is, perfumery department of Sri Aurobindo Ashram. It was called It is still called Laboratory Santor. She would receive the phone calls. She would sit. She was so frail, so thin, but her eyes were like eagle. She would look at everybody, whatever, and everybody was afraid of her. I was actually feeling like I've seen because I knew mother had touched her. I would every time get a chance to deliver products, I would go and very happy to. I was like I'm meeting mother only. That was my approach. So I would get excited, and she was also so sweet and nice to me. And she reminded me of my grandmother, whom I never had this type of grandmother, Adhyatmic, fully Adhyatmic. But means I have sweet grandmothers, but this one was very special. So I was like always happy. One person one day called, "Are you not afraid of her?" I was like, "No, I'm not." But now her experience, you see, all her life, when I'm studying the Gita, I see different chapters, and I see she's been living those chapters. Eighth Adhyaya, yogis are aware of their final moments or their journeys. They control their journey. She had controlled her last journey so perfectly that she wanted to completely have no depths. All the people who were nice to her, she invited them and she hosted them as a guest, giving them wonderful food and looked after. So no Rona, incomplete. This person was nice to me, so I want to complete the that goodness. I don't want to leave it incomplete. And then she passed away. I remember during her life also how she was sensitive, how she was alert, and she was straightforward all the time in her questions also. Damleji, she came to learn pranayam. I was also very surprised. Oh, she's so senior. She's taking pen and paper. While she was learning about Anulom Vilom, and she said there are two different types. One we do like this and this. She's already aware and still she was learning and she wanted to hear Damleji talk about it. And while Damleji was talking about the pranayam, he suddenly said, "See, someone who does regularly Anulom Vilom, your both nostrils become active." She hit her head like this. अच्छा, मुझे लगा कोई गड़बड़ है. Now, if we have to see how are we, if those who are practicing regularly, are you getting that activation? I had a very fun time in the village. I used to teach pranayam there to the children. The children are very mischievous in their village children. So I said the same dialogue which I had heard. And one young boy says, you are doing no pranayam. Are your both nostrils active? In front of all the students. I was like, "Hey, Bhagwan, I actually prayed, Krishna, please help." I was like, so you will take chill. I asked everybody, who takes the exam? Teacher takes exam for students or student takes exam for teacher? Everybody replied in chorus that no, no, teacher. But okay, let him take now. Let him take, I said, and I called him and I was in my heart, Krishna, bachalo, please help me. And I asked him, keep your finger under my nose, and then I breathed out. And I said, "What did you experience?" I said, "No, no, both are there." And he went away. I still don't know what happened that time. It was a blessing, I can say, Guru Kripa, Smaran of everything. I was thinking of Damlechi that time. So it helped maybe. But this aspect, when we do things sincerely, this can happen. And we are seeing Nirodbaran's change because in his sadhana, though we saw today again illegal restaurant food, but there's no tea. We've at least not seen too much. Otherwise, every time we read, every four letters would be, I feel like having tea. Taking tea is going to help my sadhana or is it going to block my sadhana? Is the supramental sadhana so weak that it's going to get affected by consumption of tea? These are all his questions. But now he is getting spiritual experiences. We'll also see interesting awakenings in Nirodparan. And this is something. And now, beautiful aspect was he saw the presence of Sri Aurobindo. That is something. It is said Sri Aurobindo is still working functional in what they call subtle physical level. Yogis have been able to watch. Yogis have been able to see the presence. Namleji was staying in one place called Venkatanagar. And then after it was a rented place. So so many places he had shifted and before he came to the last place. So there, a new tenant came there. This new tenant had come from the north, who was not aware of Pondicherry or anything. That person said, I'm continuously seeing some figure there always in that home somewhere. And I'm not feeling afraid though. And then one day she went to the ashram and there she saw the mother's photo. Oh, this is the person I saw. And then somebody said the person who was living there was always doing sadhana. Now, how is it possible? What is possible? Emanations of the divine, will they come, not come? Let us not go into a mental logic where we try to, try to, like, even when he's getting a spiritual experience, he's trying to have to bring Sri Aurobindo now in front. And that is, he's mentally trying to disturb the experience. So, probably this aspect of becoming silent, let us have experience. And why should we have only one experience in life? Let us become rich, adhyatmic also, no? Monetary also, Krishna has told, no, we should become strong. Emotionally also, physically also, mentally also, arthic also, isn't it? We have to become like Janaka Rajas, all of us. We have to become independently. Why? So we can indulge? No, so we can serve better. So we can serve the divine inside of us. We can serve the divine who is asking us to do Lokasangra. So for that reason, same way Adhyatma also, the experiences which come in Adhyatma, they also become a part of what we can call a occult FD, maybe. They become they assimilate into our consciousness. So let us see, looking forward to reading next week. Thank you again, everybody. Can someone summarize something that we saw? Then we have a Shanti mantra after that. Yes? Anybody? Some things you can summarize what we saw? It doesn't have to be all the points. Yes. Now, Dr. Bana is saying something. If you, I'm unable to hear you, please unmute
Yeah,
it.
yeah. I did not unmute, but it is about difference between meditation and concentration. It was about works versus meditation. Whether works prepare meditative experience or spiritual experience, or works has to be stopped after the preparatory period. So that's what were the questions. And we found that the meditation extended in the works and meditation can go hand in hand. I don't know whether we call it a dynamic meditation. I don't know whether we can
Yeah.
call this as dynamic meditation. When while
Yeah,
work, if you are in a meditative state of consciousness.
it is. In a
Yeah.
dynamic
So
meditation, your typing will become more, what we can say, smooth. If you are working on the computer. In dynamic meditation, I think Dr. Bhanaji will probably identify in a microscope patterns quickly. Maybe
yeah.
certain occult help you will get to identify, oh, this cell is cancerous. All right, this pattern looks weird.
Actually,
Hmm.
you feel like a joke, but there was one such thing where a
Huh.
cell which is not supposed to be present in that area, suddenly some 3 4 cells are there in the midst of other types of cells where they are not supposed to be there. And I
Okay.
said, this is a Paramatma only. He can become anything. He can become
Huh.
this cell. He can become that cell. And then all these thoughts go on looking at the microscope. The
Huh.
Paramatma comes in somehow or the other, but it is like right in the cell. I can think, oh my God, how it has become like this here. So that I think it can be merging together. And when that happens, that we are meditatively working, then even a little sound, somebody comes from behind, you are so focused in it that it is a scary experience if somebody enters in the zone where you are working with meditation. That was my
But that
experience.
should also not happen, isn't it? We should probably, that should also not create
Yeah,
a,
we should be inside and as well as outside in
yeah.
the room where we are the same normal consciousness. So I think it is once it becomes habit, then it becomes a natural part of your being.
Yes, see.
Uh,
Geez.
that we have to wait for that. Anyway,
Yeah.
but it is beautiful discussion, and I
Thank
found it is exactly the chapter of Arjuna and Sri Krishna telling you tell me either to do
you.
Yuddha or I have to go in Himalaya and
Tritiya
meditate.
Adhyay,
Tell me
third
one
Adhyay.
thing only. Don't confuse me. Tell me
Tadekam
one
vada
thing.
nishtitya.
Yeah, exactly.
Tadekam
So
vada
this
nishtitya.
appeared beautifully between Sri Aurobindo and Nirodbaran.
All right,
And
ji.
it is much more
Ji, thank you.
straightforwardly Sri Aurobindo has told. So it was nice.
All right, ji. Fine, ji. Okay, let us conclude with the Shanti mantra. सर्वे भवन्तु सुखिनः सर्वे सन्तु निरामयाः सर्वे भद्राणि पश्यन्तु मा कश्चित् दुःखभाग् भवेत् हरि ओम तत्सत् कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुं पुनर्मिलामः हरि ओम
Thank
नमस्कार
you, Suchi.
Thank you,
I'm
Hari
Jyoti.
Om.
sorry I was late to join, and
No, no, most welcome,
also
Jyoti.
also
Anytime.
like it was a long gap for me because I was like having the clash between
Okay.
the session, and I regret that I
No,
had
no, no.
another
Any,
class. Yeah,
no, most
so
welcome anytime.
yeah.
Yes.
Thank you so much for the
Thank you.
beautiful session.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. I am grateful everybody is joining. Hari Om Chitra ji.
Shubh Ratri.
Hari Om.
Hari Om. Namaskar.